did you see a big change there? Because you were outside, you could check. Could you go back freely? I don't know that.
No, I couldn't go back for many years, and then I had a kind of incident. I was invited there, and they stopped me by the border, and I got very angry and engaged in Swedish newspapers to focus on this question, and the Polish government was forced to let me in and say, "I'm sorry, we are so sorry. It was another guy with the same name we met," which was, of course, a lie. But since that, and it's many years ago, it's 80. We are talking about 1980s. I'm going there freely, and of course, after the abolishment of Polish communism, I'm going there without any problems. Let me start with saying that Poland, even during the communists had few very competent criminologists, aware of Western research, aware of the criminological theories. There were not that many, but they exist, and they were, I would say, tolerated at universities and even in other agencies. Of course, they probably made the compromises, but still, it was the criminology in Poland, which was not that bad during the communism. After the communism, criminology developed in Poland very much in relation to the Department of Law. So less I mean, there are different kinds, of course. Poland is a big country. But in general, less sociology or critical sociology, what I'm representing, maybe in some degree, and more in relation to legislation. So from time to time when I'm there, I'm a bit critical about the, let us say, more dogmatic legislative approach to criminology. But there are criminologists in Poland who are not at all that way. Many of them are lawyers from the beginning, but are very much skillful about the social sciences, doing kind of longitudinal studies, doing quite a lot other kind of empirical studies. So it's quite a lot different things in Poland. I mean, a link to law is not always disadvantage. To some extent, it may be big advantage because, as you know, law are defining our area. I mean, this is, so I would say that maybe our students, criminology students in Sweden, many of them are would be much better if they know much more about the legislation and the legislation's processes and so on. But on the other side, I mean, one of this very much, let us say, open-minded lawyers, criminologist was Hans von Hofer we were talking about. He was a lawyer from the beginning and then became much more statistician and sociologist. But sometimes if you are too much emphasizing the legislative doctrines, you may be less keen to see the critical aspects of the society.
Then I have another question related to that. So in criminology, to find the right-wing criminologist, you really have to walk a lot to find them. So my question is, you were probably, I think you were the only criminologist born and raised in the other side of the Iron Curtain, let's say, and teaching, becoming a professor in Western Europe. And how was it? Because you knew how, let's say, what they used to call the real socialism. Okay, we can discuss about that. And so, being a criminologist in the West, and because you also came in the time when neo-Marxism was still a little bit present, how did you live this dichotomy from the practice to the theory and the application? I wonder about that.
Well, this is well, I don't know if my reflection on this would be scientific enough. I don't know.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be scientific.
Let me say that I came to Sweden in 1969 as a refugee from the very, very nasty communist regime. It was, of course, shocking, more or less, I would say, to come to Sweden, or to West in general, where all my student colleagues, particularly at the Department of Sociology, who were the communists, the only question was if they were Stalinists, Maoists, Trotskyists, or some other kind, or many other kinds.
Thank you for following Lieven and Marcelo's Criminology Podcast, a podcast hosted by Marcelo Aebi from the University of Lausanne, Switzerland, and Lieven Pauwels from Ghent University, Belgium. We aim to draw a map of the state of criminology across Europe through the words of contemporary criminologists. How is criminology defined and taught? Which are the main lines of research? Which are the main schools of thought in each country? These and many other questions are answered here by fellow researchers who share their vision on the development of criminology in their countries from its beginnings to the second decade of the 21st century. If you want to know and compare their stories, stay tuned. This podcast is edited by Eduardo Coco from the University of Lausanne. Our theme song is Seagull's Night, Noche de Gaviotas, composed by Gustavo Cantero, arranged by Tato Germano, and played by Tato and Gustavo with the voices of Sasha Conte and Alejandro Turco Guyot. Cheers, and see you soon.